The roar of the plasma reactor drowns out thought. The air tastes like metal and incense. Beneath layers of sacred steel and sanctified pain, men and women are bound to the will of a god machine. They do not fight for glory. They do not live for victory. They endure, consumed by the machine they serve. Within the Titan's heart, flesh and metal are one. The Princeps dreams in fire. The Moderati bleed from their eyes, and the servitors whisper prayers to death engines.
The awakening of a Titan is not a moment of triumph, it is a ritual of agony. Long before dawn ever touches the scorched skies of a battlefield, deep within the hangar cathedrals of the Mechanicus, the rites begin. The air is thick with sacred oils and machine incense. Red-robed tech priests chant Grimdark hymns, their metallic voices echoing through the colossal chamber. Every syllable is a prayer, every spark a blessing. From the shadows, hundreds of acolytes kneel in synchronized motion, heads bowed before a slumbering god of steel, a warlord titan, dormant but dreaming. Its form towers above them like a cathedral built for war. Vast limbs of adamantium, armor plates carved with sigils of the Omnicia, and banners stained with centuries of dried blood hang like relics. Even in silence it radiates power. You can feel it humming, faintly, a deep, thrumming vibration that settles in your chest like a heartbeat that isn't yours. They say each Titan has a soul, a machine spirit, ancient, wrathful, and alive. It sleeps in the dark places between code and faith, its will bound by the prayers of the Mechanicus. To awaken it is to invite a god into your mind. The Princeps stands before the throne of control, his body stripped to the waist, skin pale and scarred from a lifetime of communion. Around him, servo-skulls float, whispering canticles as tech adepts pierce neural jacks into his spine. Each connection burns. Each spark of data feels like fire crawling under his flesh. He doesn't scream. He hasn't screamed in years. His duty is to surrender, to give his body, his mind, and his soul to the Titan. "Initiate the rite of communion," the Magus intones, his vox voice crackling with static. The chamber erupts in red light. Pistons groan, runes flare alive across the Titan's hull, hydraulic vents exhale clouds of sacred steam, and the sound, that sound, fills the air like the breath of an awakening god. The first connection pierces deeper into the Princeps' mind. His vision fractures, filled with streams of machine code and pulsing lights. His heartbeat slows, sinking to something vast and alien. He feels the Titan stirring, not just in sound or sight, but inside him. The machine spirit is ancient and angry. It has fought on worlds that no longer exist, slain enemies whose names are lost to time. It remembers fire, death, and glory, and it does not trust him. Every Princeps knows this fear. The Titan does not see them as masters, only as vessels. The bond is not partnership, it's domination. The stronger will prevails. He must prove himself worthy every single time it wakes. Through the neural feedback, the Titan's presence floods his consciousness, heavy, suffocating. It presses down on his thoughts like an ocean crushing a diver. He tries to think clearly, to recite the litany of union. But the spirit whispers back, its voice a rumble of machine thunder. "You are weak. You are flesh. Why should I obey you?" Pain flares through his nervous system, the Titan testing him, clawing at his mind. Memories flash, faces, screams, the smell of burning oil. He feels his body fading, his own identity dissolving into static. For a moment, he isn't sure if he's a man or the machine. Then he speaks aloud, not in words, but in faith. "By the will of the Omnicia, By the blood of Mars, I command thee, awake. The ground trembles, the machine spirit roars. A surge of energy bursts through every conduit and nerve cable. Systems ignite in a cascade of holy light. The Titan's reactor heart begins to beat, a deep, seismic thrum that shakes the entire cathedral. The Motorati, seated in their smaller command thrones, scream as their own interfaces light up, flooding their minds with sensory overload. Their voices join the Princeps in mechanical prayer. Glory to the God Machine! Glory to the Omnisia! Outside, the hangar doors part, spilling dawnlight across the Titan's armored hull. Steam rolls across the floor as the massive war engine takes its first breath in centuries. Its head turns, lenses glowing like suns. Servitors scatter, chanting blessings as its footsteps thunder through the hangar. Every movement is deliberate, colossal, divine. The Princeps can barely breathe. His body trembles, every nerve alight with data and pain. Yet deep within that agony, there is ecstasy. The Titan moves because he wills it, or perhaps because it allows him to. The distinction no longer matters. Together, they are one, flesh and machine, human and God. And in that unity, he feels the truth every Princeps learns too late. The Titan does not serve you, you serve it. Its hunger is endless, for war, for destruction, for purpose. Without battle, it sleeps. Without blood, it dreams. Without faith, it devours. The crew knows this. Every Motorati feels its pulse in their skull. Every tech priest whispers prayers to keep its temper contained. The Titan's gaze turns toward the horizon. Through its auspex feeds, the Princeps sees a world burning. Enemy strongholds, anti-air fire, the scars of orbital bombardment. He feels the machine spirit's eagerness, not fear, not hate, but hunger. The God Machine lives again, and it demands obedience. As the first steps shake the earth, the cathedral bells toll. The Mechanicus chant rises in triumph and terror. Some kneel in awe. Others whisper prayers that this awakening will not consume them all. Because once a Titan awakens, it remembers everything. Every kill, every scream, every life burned to ash in its holy fire. And now, reborn once more, it marches towards the next world to remind the galaxy why mankind built gods of metal.
They call it the Throne Mechanicum, a relic of the dark age of technology, rebuilt and sanctified by the Adeptus Mechanicus, wrapped in centuries of prayers and machine cant. But to those who sit upon it, it is not a throne, it is a crucifix. The Princeps kneels before it as though before a god's altar. The chamber is dim, lit only by the crimson glow of runes and the pulsing of sacred conduits. Servo skulls drift in lazy circles, leaking trails of incense smoke that coil like ghosts around his head. The tech priests murmur rites of activation, their Benharic hymns crawling through the air like metallic whispers. He knows what comes next. He's lived this moment 1,000 times, and it never grows easier. The ritual of binding strips away everything human, thought, pain, memory, until only the Titan's will remains. He lowers himself into the throne's cold embrace. Dozens of mechadendrites snake from the ceiling and pierce his flesh, spinal jacks locking into vertebrae, optic cables sliding into the base of his skull. Blood and machine oil mix as his body convulses. His breath catches in his throat, half choked by the metallic taste of sanctified pain. Neural linkage, initiate. Psi-warding fields, stable. Cognition bridge, forming. The words come from everywhere, tech adepts reciting the litanies of union, their voices a steady rhythm of devotion and control. but their prayers fade quickly, replaced by the rising hum of the Titan's mind pressing against his own. The first touch is always cold, a whisper in the nerves, like static along the spine. Then comes the flood. Data, images, memory echoes from the machine's ancient consciousness. He sees cities burning beneath the Titan's feet. He hears cannons roar, feels the recoil of plasma annihilation as though it's his own heartbeat. The sensory overload tears at his thoughts, shredding his sense of self. He gasps. His veins glow faintly from the neural energy surging through him. His fingers curl against the throne's cold metal arms, nails cracking. The machine wants control. It hungers for dominance. The Princeps must fight it, but not too hard. It's a delicate balance, this sacred torment. Resist too much, and the Titan rejects you. Submit too much, and you are devoured by its will, your consciousness dissolved into the machine's eternal wrath. The pain becomes indescribable, not just physical, but existential. Every synapse screams, every neuron burns. The throne does not allow comfort. It digs into the soul, pulling memories apart like pages from a burning book. He remembers his name, for now, but even that begins to fade beneath the surge of binary prayer. You are not alone, the Magos's voice drones through the vox. The machine spirit is ancient, show it obedience. He tries. Emperor, help him. He tries. But the Titan is vast, a storm of iron thought and electric fury. It tears through his mind like a god searching for weakness. He feels its contempt. It remembers Princeps before him, hundreds who have burned out in this very seat, their minds shattered by the communion. And yet, beneath that contempt, there's something else. Curiosity, recognition. It tests him, pushes deeper, until their thoughts begin to blur. You again, the voice inside him growls, low, metallic, echoing through his skull. The flesh returns. His jaw clenches, blood trickles from his nose. Yes, he breathes, half in words, half in thought. I am your conduit, your hand, your eyes. Through me you will burn the enemies of the Omnissiah. The Titan responds not with words, but sensation, a wave of molten data crashing through his mind, pain so pure that it almost becomes holy. He screams, but the sound is swallowed by static. His body writhes, but the throne holds him fast. The Moderati watch in silence from their smaller control thrones, their own neural links pulsing with blue light. They dare not speak. The Princeps' torment is sacred, unnecessary sacrifice. For every Titan's awakening demands a price in blood and willpower. Minutes stretch into eternities. His mind fractures, then reforms, reshaped by the Titan's presence. His heartbeat syncs with the rhythm of the reactor core. His breath follows the hiss of hydraulics. His thoughts scatter through circuits and fiber cables, reaching every limb of the war machine. He no longer feels the room or the air or his own weight. He is the Titan now. He feels the world through sensors and auspex, smells ozone through chemical filters, hears the murmured hymns of tech priests as faint ripples across metal. In this union, pain fades, but only because it becomes everything. He can't separate it from existence anymore. The Titan's neural field sustains his body as it burns away his humanity. His mind has merged with something beyond flesh, beyond reason. And yet, there is clarity. In that blinding fusion, he understands the will of the Omnissiah. The Titan doesn't hate him. It merely demands purity, obedience, faith. He realizes that his suffering is its way of cleansing him. Every scream, every surge of agony is a form of prayer. When the connection stabilizes, the tech priests step back. The chanting ceases. The chamber is silent save for the slow rhythmic hum of perfect synchronization. The Magos lowers his head. The bond is complete. The Princeps, or whatever is left of him, opens his eyes. They glow faintly with golden light, reflections of the Titan systems coursing through his veins. His voice, when he speaks, carries the resonance of the God machine itself. "I hear it breathing," he whispers. "The machine spirit, it's awake." He feels it now, inside him, around him, through him. The Titan's mind, vast and cruel, resting just beneath the surface of his thoughts. Every heartbeat echoes with its pulse. Every movement is no longer his own. The throne mechanicum holds him prisoner, saint and servant, all at once. He cannot leave it, not truly. Even when disconnected, its whispers haunt his dreams. He is bound forever, a mind tethered to a doad of war. And in that eternal connection, he understands the final truth of every Princeps who ever lived. You do not command a Titan. You endure it.
The Princeps is the will of the Titan, but the Motorati are its thoughts, countless, fractured, and bleeding. Beneath the throne mechanicum, in the half-dark glow of cogitator light, they sit upon their own command thrones. Their seats are smaller, less ornate, but no less cruel. The air hums with electricity and prayer. Cables snake from the ceiling like mechanical serpents, burrowing into the bases of their skulls. Each one connects them to the Titan's mind, and to him, the Princeps above. When the connection begins, their consciousness merges with his. They feel his heartbeat, his pain, his rage. The Titan's neural field expands like a storm, and their own thoughts are swept away by it. The Motorati have no illusions. They are not commanders. They are extensions, synaptic bridges in the living mind of a God machine. Through them, the Titan sees, hears, and kills. Through them, the Princeps feels the world. And in return, they feel everything. Their senses expand beyond comprehension. One Motorati handles weapon targeting, and her mind becomes a network of death. She can see kilometers through the Titan's augers, feel the trajectory of each shell as though it were her own breath. When the volcano cannon fires, she experiences the recoil not through movement, but through psychic impact, a detonation that ripples through her skull. Another controls movement, and in doing so, his body dissolves into motion. He feels every piston, every servo, every stride of the Titan's massive legs. The ground's vibration travels up through his bones. The Titan's balance becomes his equilibrium, its gait his heartbeat. They are fragments of a greater consciousness. And though their duty is sacred, their burden is unbearable. To share thought with a God machine is not to live, it is to exist within it. Every moment is communion, and communion is torment. Their minds are kept stable only through ritual and repetition. The Mechanicusts know this. That's why the Motorati chant even when they aren't speaking orders. Their litanies are half prayer, half code, mantras designed to keep their identities intact. Through data, clarity. Through pain, purpose. Through the omniscii, unity. But not all of them succeed. Some Motorati begin to hear echoes, faint whispers that aren't from the Princeps, nor from the tech priests. Voices deep in the machine's soul, like distant thunder behind static. The Titan's memory speaking to them. Ghosts of past crews. Faint screams of those who burned within these same walls centuries ago. The Mechanicus call it residual data. The Princeps calls it madness. In truth, it is both. The longer a Motorati remains bound, the more their individuality erodes. At first, they dream of their families, their homes, the sky. Then, they dream only of steel corridors and reactor light. Eventually, their dreams stop altogether because the Titan does not dream, and neither can they. When the neural pain becomes too great, when the machine's thoughts overpower their own, they are replaced. Their minds are too damaged to re-enter the world. They speak in binary code instead of words, their eyes flickering with ghost light. The Mechanicus quietly take them away. No one ever sees them again. Sometimes, though, one remains, too valuable, too experienced to discard. These veterans become half-human relics, bodies fused to their thrones by sacred bolts and augmetics. They live, eat, and sleep within the Titan, forever whispering into its circuits. They have no name, no voice, only purpose. Among the Motorati, there's a silent oath: endure or be consumed. They do not speak it aloud. They don't have to. They all feel it. When battle begins, the communion deepens. Their pain sharpens, becoming a singular shared emotion. Unity through suffering. The Princeps' commands echo through their skulls as flashes of light and sound. Their fingers move instinctively, guided by impulses that aren't their own. The Titan roars, they roar with it. Its fury becomes theirs, its devastation their ecstasy. When the God Machine fires its weapons, they feel a kind of divine release. Every shell that lands, every building that burns, is an extension of their will. For that one brief, blinding instant, they are more than human. They are part of something eternal. But when the battle ends, silence returns. And silence is worse. Without the noise of combat, without the shared data flow of the Titan's rage, the Motorati are left alone, inside a mind too vast for thought. The Titan listens. It remembers. And in that stillness, its whispers grow louder. Some cry silently inside their helmets. Others stare blankly at flickering rune screens, their faces hollow. The bond never fully ends. Even when disconnected, they can still feel the Titan's presence pulsing at the edge of thought. They know that one day it will claim them completely. Every Motorati feels it, that slow, creeping loss of self. The Princeps becomes their anchor, their god, their tormentor. His will keeps them sane, and yet his mind is the very storm that drowns them. There are moments, brief and terrifying, when they glimpse his thoughts too closely. They see what he sees, feel his memories bleeding into their own, the endless cycle of awakening, battle, and death. They understand then what few ever do. The Titan doesn't just demand obedience from the Princeps, it demands sacrifice from all. By the time their service ends, whether through death, burnout, or the slow corrosion of their minds, the Motorati are no longer human in any true sense. They are the voice of the Titan, the hands that guide its wrath. And when they fall, the God Machine barely notices. It remembers them not as people, but as data, archived within its sanctified memory core. Their names become code. Their souls become part of the engine hymn. And so, the cycle continues. New Motorati are chosen, new minds are bound, new voices join the chorus of the machine. The Titan does not grieve, it does not rest, it only hungers.
They do not speak. They do not dream. They only serve. Within the hollow belly of the Titan, where light is dim and air tastes of burnt metal, the servitors move in silence. Their footsteps echo softly on steel grating, accompanied by the hiss of steam and the rhythmic hum of reactors. Their eyes, some organic, some augmetic, stare blankly ahead. Their bodies are pale, stitched together with wire and sanctified steel. Once they were men and women, soldiers, criminals, heretics, or sometimes simply those unfortunate enough to be born in the wrong place. Now they are the beating heart of the God Machine. Hundreds of them dwell here, crawling through narrow maintenance shafts, repairing sacred circuits, and tending to the Titan's inner wounds. They whisper binary hymns as they work, fragments of prayer encoded into their programming. Through obedience, purpose; through sacrifice, function; through the omniscia, eternity. Their existence is neither life nor death. It is a state of perpetual servitude, a merging of flesh and code, spirit and machinery. Their thoughts, if any remain, are drowned beneath layers of programming, their wills erased, their memories purged. Each one has been reduced to a single concept: service. To the Mechanicus, they are holy relics, instruments of divine labor. To the Titan's crew, they are ghosts, reminders of what happens to those who fail to endure. Every servitor has a purpose. Some maintain the sacred pistons and cogitators, crawling through scolding vents with tools fused into their hands. Others tend to the reactor core, their skin blistering from the heat as they scrub sacred residue from the containment seals. There are even those who act as living conduits, their bodies used to carry electrical current through nerve filament cables implanted along their spines. When their circuits overload, they die without a sound. Their corpses are removed, blessed, and replaced. They feel no pain. The pain has been erased, or rather sanctified into function. In the language of the omniscia, pain is inefficiency, and inefficiency is heresy. Yet, there are moments, fleeting and terrible, when something stirs beneath the programming. A flicker in a servitor's eye, a whisper on its lips that isn't part of the code, a name, a prayer, a memory. No one speaks of these moments. The Mechanicus calls them data corruption. The Princeps calls them hauntings. But the Motorati, who work closest to the servitors, sometimes swear they hear them murmuring in the night. Voices that sound too human, too lost. Why, one might whisper, before its vocal cords burn out in a burst of static. Where am I? Another may mutter, before a tech priest strikes it silent with a burst of shock current. There is no mercy for the unfaithful code. In the rituals of maintenance, the servitors line up like penitents before a priest. The tech priests anoint their skulls with sacred oils, reciting the litanies of calibration. They are inspected, repaired, blessed, and sometimes dismantled for parts. Their flesh is catalogued, their memories wiped again, their voices replaced with static filters. And through it all, the Titan watches. The machine spirit sees them not as beings, but as extensions of its own will. They are the nerve endings of a god. When one dies, another is grafted in its place. Its hunger is ceaseless. Every broken wire, every burned conduit, every failed synapse must be replaced. The servitors are the sacrifice that keeps the god machine alive. There are some who say that deep within the Titan's lower decks, there exists a room no tech priest dares enter, a place where the oldest servitors, those who have served for centuries, are stored. They are too valuable to destroy, too sacred to repair. Their bodies hang from chains, suspended in eternal dormancy, whispering binary prayers to a god that no longer hears them. Their flesh has fused with the walls. Their eyes glow faintly with residual power. They are called the chorus of the forgotten. Some claim that during the long voyages between wars, the Titan hums with a strange tone, a low, mournful vibration that echoes through the hull like a funeral dirge. The tech priests say it's just reactor feedback. The Moderati say it's the servitors singing. But the Princeps knows better. He feels it in the back of his mind, a faint sadness, a presence of something that was once human. The Titan remembers its servants, even if they no longer remember themselves. In rare moments, when the Titan powers down for maintenance, the servitors fall still. Their heads bow. Their lips move in silent reverence. It looks like prayer, and perhaps, in some forgotten fragment of their souls, it is prayer. Because deep beneath the layers of code and control, the spark of humanity still flickers. A spark the machine god cannot fully extinguish. There is no escape from this life, no freedom, no redemption. When a servitor fails, its parts are recycled into the Titan systems. Its blood becomes coolant, its organs become filtration units, its brain matter becomes data paste for the cogitators. Even in death, it serves. Such is the perfection of the Omnissiah's design, eternal, efficient, merciless. And yet, sometimes, when the Titan roars to life, when the battlefield burns and the machine spirit bellows in divine fury, the servitors move faster, stronger, beyond their programming, as if they remember, as if in that moment of sacred destruction, the human soul trapped within them rejoices, for it was born to serve, to suffer, and to burn in the name of the Emperor. They are the forgotten faithful, bound by faith, consumed by function, the living tools of the Omnissiah, and in their silence lies the truest kind of devotion.
I used to think the worst thing about the Tyranids was the sound, the endless chittering, the screech of claws on metal, the screams of those they devoured alive. But I was wrong. The worst thing isn't what they do to your body, it's what they do to your mind. After the last of the Astartes fell, I fled into the Underhive, what little was left of it. The tunnels had collapsed in places, twisted by the growths of living tissue that pulsed like veins. The air glowed faintly green, thick with spores that clung to my skin and clothes. Every breath felt heavier. Every sound echoed for too long. At first, I thought I was alone. The others who'd survived the guard assault had scattered. A few civilians, some wounded soldiers. I tried calling out over the vox. Nothing. Just static. But then, the static began to answer. It started as whispers, faint, distorted echoes of my own voice. Then came the voices of others. People I knew were dead. The colonel, the chaplain. Even Mara, the girl who'd vanished days ago. Their words bled through the noise like ghosts clawing at the edges of my thoughts. Don't run. It's watching. You're already part of it. I tore the Vokta from my ear and smashed it, but the voices didn't stop. They were inside my head now. At first I thought it was fear, hallucinations, the aftershock of what I'd seen. But then I began to feel something else. Something vast and alive, pressing against the edges of my consciousness. It wasn't trying to speak. It was listening. Every thought I had, every memory, every flicker of fear, it tasted them. I could feel it searching, exploring, pulling at the seams of who I was, like a predator sniffing its prey before the kill. I tried not to think. I tried to focus on nothing, on silence. But how do you silence your own mind when it isn't yours anymore? It was everywhere. In the ground beneath me, in the walls, in the air. I could feel its rhythm, its pulse, matching my heartbeat until I couldn't tell which was mine. Every surface seemed to breathe. Every shadow seemed to stare. The hive mind wasn't just watching from above. It was inside everything. That's when I started seeing them. Not with my eyes, but in my head. Images, flashes, fragments of something greater. I saw entire worlds stripped to bone and dust. I saw oceans turn to blood. I saw creatures that blotted out suns. Leviathans drifting through the void, their bodies made of the biomass of 1,000 dead worlds. I saw the synaptic web stretching across the galaxy, a living network of thought and hunger that bound every creature, every cell, every scream into one endless will. And through it all, I felt it see me. Not as a man, not as prey, as a pattern. It knew my thoughts before I did. It replayed my memories, my childhood, my faith, my mother's voice when she whispered the Emperor's prayer. It made me hear her again perfectly, then twisted her words into something else. The Emperor protects. The Emperor feeds us. I fell to my knees, clutching my head, trying to claw the thoughts out, but they weren't mine anymore. The hive wasn't just consuming my world, it was absorbing me, piece by piece. That's when I realized the truth. The hive mind doesn't think the way we do. It doesn't need eyes to see or ears to hear. It feels through us. Every survivor, every terrified thought, every last heartbeat, all of it feeds into its understanding. The more we fear it, the more it learns. The more it learns, the stronger it becomes. I found one of the wounded guardsmen deeper in the tunnels. His name was Lorne. His armor was half melted, his eyes bloodshot from spore burns. I tried to speak to him, to tell him we could still escape, but he didn't respond. He just stared into the dark, whispering under his breath. I leaned closer and realized he wasn't praying. He was repeating. A steady rhythm, a pulse of words with no meaning. I thought it was madness, until I heard my own voice echoing the same pattern seconds later. The hive was sinking us,
making us think in unison. We weren't survivors anymore. We were nodes, flickering, fading connections in the vast neural web of the Great Devourer. The realization broke something inside me. I screamed, but it didn't sound like me. It echoed, layered like 1,000 others were screaming through me. And for a moment, I felt peace. No fear, no pain, no loneliness. Only belonging. Only hunger. I don't remember how long I stayed there. Hours? Days? The hive doesn't measure time the way we do. It doesn't care for days or nights, only the rhythm of consumption. Eventually, I forced myself to move. Not for survival. That word lost meaning. But out of instinct. The last spark of who I was. I wandered through the tunnels until I found the surface again. The city was gone. The spore tower had grown higher, its veins reaching into the clouds. I could feel it calling me, not with sound, but with thought. And deep down, I wanted to answer. Because when the hive mind watches you, it doesn't just study you. It understands you. It becomes you. And once it's inside, there's no escape. I can still feel it now, behind my eyes, beneath my skin, inside my thoughts. It whispers when I try to sleep. It shows me things that haven't happened yet. Other worlds, other lives, other prey. And in every vision, I see the same truth. The hive isn't coming. It's already here. It's in us. And soon, we'll stop resisting. We'll stop fearing. We'll join it. Because in the end, the hive mind doesn't need to kill you to win. It just needs you to understand it.
The hour before battle is the longest hour of a Titan's life, and the most sacred. It begins with silence. Not peace, but the kind of silence that comes before the storm breaks. The air is heavy with oil vapors and the scent of burned incense. Lights flicker as tech priests move through the cathedral-like hangar, their robes dragging across the steel floor, chanting in rhythmic binaric tones. Every sound echoes, bouncing off the towering metal ribs of the god machine that looms above us like a slumbering deity. To outsiders, it must look like chaos. Priests muttering, servitors clanking, adepts carrying relics and cogitators across the deck. But to us, this is order. This is faith. The preparations begin not with weapons, but with prayers. The omniscient canticles must be sung in exact sequence, the harmonic frequencies aligned with the machine's auspex nodes. The slightest deviation could offend the spirit, and if the spirit is displeased, the Titan will not wake. I sit upon the command throne as they work. The throne feels like an execution chair. Thick bundles of neural cables coiled above me like serpents waiting to strike. The steel beneath my hands is cold. Soon, it will burn with life. The Margos Biologis approaches, his face half hidden by a respirator, his eyes replaced with ruby lenses. He says, "Sanctification of the conduits complete." The servitors respond in unison. "Praise the Omnisia. The flesh is weak. The machine is eternal." The first sting comes as the spinal clamps engage. Cold needles sliding into the sockets along my back. My breath catches, but I do not flinch. Pain is part of the ritual. Pain is the language through which the machine understands us. Next, the cranial ports connect. A blinding spark flashes across my vision. For a moment I see nothing but white light and static, and then the world sharpens again, edged in electric gold. My thoughts are no longer just mine. The machine's awareness brushes against mine, faint, testing, curious. The spirit is awake. All around, the crew take their stations. The Moderati lower themselves into their thrones, wires snaking into the ports at their temples. One by one, their eyes roll back as the neural sync begins. Their bodies twitch as data floods their minds, targeting readouts, reactor flows, heat signatures. They are no longer individuals. They are the Titan's senses, its reflexes, its extensions. I ask the tech priest, status of the spirit. He shrugs mechanically, his servo arm whirring. He says, restless, hungry. It remembers the last battle. It desires another. I close my eyes and breathe through the pain as the communion deepens. The neural field thickens around my consciousness, threads of code whispering ancient phrases, fragments of memory. I can feel the machine's pulse now, a steady rhythm beneath the metal floor. Its power builds with every prayer, every word of binary worship. The Mechanicus priests step forward to begin the next rite, the offering of sparks. They ignite votive plasma candles along the walkway, their blue-white flames flickering against the dark. Each flame represents a fallen crew member, a life once bound to this Titan. The Magos lifts his mechanodendrite and drips sacred oil over the throne's cables. The scent is thick and bitter, a mixture of ozone and burnt copper. He says, repeat the litany of ignition. I whisper the ancient words. By the will of the Omnisia, may circuits burn bright, may reactors breathe, may the spirit awaken in wrath and glory. Each word resonates within the hull. The Titan responds, not just in sound, but in presence. The air grows hot, vibrating with unseen power. The machine spirit's attention focuses fully now, like an eye opening after a long sleep. A low hum begins in the walls. The deck trembles. One by one, the great engines come alive, plasma reactors igniting with a thunderous roar. Light floods the cockpit. Warning runes flare, then stabilize. I feel the Titan's heartbeat sync with mine. And then comes the sacrifice. It is not spoken of outside the Mechanicus. To those who serve within a Titan, it is the unspoken truth behind every victory. A single servitor is chosen. They are brought before the throne, a wretched shape of half flesh, half machine. Their eyes are gone. Their mouth opens and closes silently, awaiting command. The Magos lifts his staff. May your essence join the spirit. May your function never cease. The servitor is connected to the auxiliary port, and the machine drinks. The energy surge rattles the hull. The servitor convulses, then falls still. Its lifeless form remains suspended, wires pulsing with residual light. The machine spirit calms. The offering has been accepted. I exhale slowly. My body trembles. I can feel the spirit's satisfaction ripple through the neural link, a sensation like warmth spreading across my spine. It is pleased. Now the final phase begins. The entire hangar erupts in ritual motion. Servitors march in unison, chanting binary psalms. The priests circle the Titan's feet, swinging censers of burning incense. The Motoravi begin their synchronization sequences, linking the Titan's vision and weapon systems to my command interface. Through the cockpit glass, I see the hangar doors begin to open, massive slabs of adamantium grinding apart. Beyond them lies the world below, a storm-ridden wasteland shrouded in smoke. The Magos' voice echoes through the chamber.
By the machine god's will, the god machine awakens. Prepare for war. The words are not metaphor. The Titan moves. With a sound like mountains shifting, the legs of the machine rise. Dust and smoke swirl through the chamber. Each step sends a tremor through the ground. The plasma reactors scream in approval. The machine spirit roars in my mind, a voice of iron and fury, eager to destroy, to burn, to cleanse. I do not resist. I cannot. The communion is complete. My thoughts blur with its own. My voice becomes its voice. Target designation acquired, whispers one of the Moderati. Awaiting confirmation. I say, fire. The Titan obeys. Outside, the sky itself splits open.
The cockpit is alive. It breathes, it sweats, it hungers. Every surface glows with pulsing veins of light. Cables writhe like arteries, carrying molten data instead of blood. The heat is suffocating, not the gentle warmth of engines, but the oppressive furnace of a reactor burning at the edge of overload. The air tastes of copper and ash. Every breath scours my lungs. I can hear the Moderati breathing through their masks, ragged and uneven. Their skin shines with sweat and machine oil. The smallest movement sends ripples of agony through the neural links that pierce our spines. We are one body now, the Titan's body, and the Titan is in pain. Alarms scream, Auspex runes blaze crimson. The machine spirit bellows within my mind, a roar that isn't sound, but pressure, a psychic weight that crushes thought. My vision blurs. I see through my own eyes and through the Titan's eyes at once. Outside, entire city blocks burn in the glare of our plasma annihilator. Inside, the walls drip with condensation, steam hissing from overheated conduits. The smell of burnt insulation and flesh. Somewhere, a servitor's neural link has overloaded. It spasms silently, smoke curling from its mouth. No one looks at it. There's no time. The Titan marches. It must march. Each step is a world-ending quake. The feedback slams into my body, a bone-deep vibration that rattles my teeth and blurs my thoughts. I feel the ground shatter beneath our feet, the shock waves traveling up through the armor into my bones. The spirit feeds on it. I feel its pleasure, its grim satisfaction as our weapons reap destruction. The Moderati cry out as the neural feedback surges. One tears at his restraints, screaming prayers and half-forgotten code. The others chant back to drown him out, voices trembling. Their words melt into static. Their sanity melts with it. I want to help them, but the machine's voice drowns everything. It does not care for mercy. It only cares for the kill. Temperature warnings flash across the display. The interior heat climbs past tolerances meant for living flesh. Sweat runs into my eyes, stinging. The Magos monotone cuts through the noise. Reactor integrity nominal. Ignore thermal readings. The flesh will adapt. The flesh does not adapt. It cooks. I can feel blisters forming under the interface pads on my arms. The pain doesn't distract me anymore. It fuels the connection. The spirit likes pain. Every pulse of agony sharpens the link between us, until I can't tell where I end and it begins. Outside, our guns scream hymns of annihilation. Each shell launched, each plasma discharge sends a shiver through my nervous system. The Titan's rage becomes my own.
I smell ozone, molten metal, and underneath it all, that unmistakable scent, burning souls. It's not metaphor. When the machine spirit kills, it doesn't just destroy bodies, it consumes everything. I can feel it drawing energy from the dying, their fear, their despair, their final flashes of faith. It floods through the neural net like fire, and we burn with them. For a heartbeat, I taste their memories. Their screams mingle with my own thoughts until I don't know which are mine. Somewhere far below, the tech acolytes chant the canticle of endurance. Their voices rise through the vox, thin and distorted. I join them without meaning to. My mouth moves, whispering binary prayers I don't remember learning. The spirit repeats the words through the hull, a metallic echo that shakes the heavens. Then the heat spikes again. Coolant systems fail. Vapor floods the cockpit, thick and blinding. The world narrows to color and sound, red, orange, black. I can't see the crew anymore, only their silhouettes against the glare of the consoles. One by one, their shapes blur, dissolve into light. Am I dying? Or ascending? The spirit's voice cuts through the confusion, cold and absolute. Feed me! The order is clear. I route power from life support to the main weapon batteries. I feel the oxygen thin, the temperature climb. My vision dims at the edges. The spirit hums in satisfaction. Through the haze, the targeting rune blinks, a fortress ahead, enemy banners burning in the wind. By the Omnisia's will, I whisper, and the Titan fires. The recoil is cataclysmic. The cockpit erupts in light. The fortress ceases to exist. For one instant, I feel everything, the melting steel, the vaporized stone, the souls of the dying pouring into us. The spirit drinks it all. My body convulses, every nerve alight. Ecstasy and horror are one. When the light fades, silence returns. Only the hiss of cooling vents, the crackle of dying circuits. The Moderati slump in their thrones, smoke rising from their skin. Some still breathe, some don't. The Titan stands motionless amid the ruins. The battlefield is gone, reduced to glass and shadow. I can feel the spirit's satisfaction ebbing, the hunger quieted. For now. I try to separate my thoughts from its own, but the connection clings like molten metal. Its whispers linger in my mind. More. There will always be more. The tech priests will call this victory. They will chant and record the data, praising the Omnisia for his blessing. But I know the truth. This is not victory. This is feeding. And we are the vessels that carry the offering. The heat finally subsides, leaving only the stench, oil, ash, and the faint sweetness of burned flesh. I inhale, shudder, and whisper to the empty thrones beside me. Forgive us. There is no answer, only the low, rhythmic hum of the Titan's heart, steady, patient, waiting for the next war. And deep inside that pulse, beneath the static and the silence, I hear laughter. Not human, never human.
There is no warning when the end begins. Just a sound, low, trembling, like the groan of mountains breaking. At first, I think it's distant thunder, but then I feel it. The vibration rising through the throne, up my spine, through the neural links that pierce my flesh. The Titan shudders. The machine spirit howls inside my mind. Something vital has been torn apart. Smoke floods the cockpit. Red runes bloom across the consoles like wounds.
The air reeks of ozone and blood. My voice joins the alarms, barking orders that no one can hear. The Moderati are screaming. One of them is on fire, his neural cables glowing white-hot before snapping in bursts of blue flame. Another spasms silently, mouth open in a prayer that never finishes. I try to steady the link. I reach for the spirit, calling its name through the chaos of collapsing systems. For a moment it answers, a flash of fury, a surge of power, and then it slips away, like sand through my fingers. We've taken a direct hit. Something massive, rail ordnance, macro shell, it doesn't matter. The void shield is gone, armor breach across the lower carapace, hydraulic pressure dropping, reactor bleed rising. The Titan is dying. But death for a god machine isn't swift. It's slow, a drawn-out agony that echoes through every nerve of those bound to it. I feel its pain through the neural feed, its broken pistons grinding, its reactor core screaming, its mind fracturing under the weight of damage too great to bear. The spirit's mind twists inside my skull. No longer commands, no longer hunger, only confusion, fear. It asks in pulses of static and sorrow, "Why? Why have you forsaken me?" I have no answer. I whisper the only thing I can remember, the ancient words of absolution. The flesh is weak, the machine endures. But this time, even the lie feels hollow. The Magos appears through the smoke, robes aflame. His voxcaster crackles with binary prayers as he stumbles toward the command altar, clutching a data slate. His mechanda-dendrites twitch and spark. "Reroute coolant flow!" I shout. He doesn't respond. His lenses turn toward me, and I see my own reflection in them. The realization cuts deeper than the fire. There is no rerouting. There is no salvation. The spirit's mind collapses in waves. Fragments of its memories flicker through my thoughts. 1,000 battles, 1,000 worlds burned in its name. Faces of crews long dead, voices of Princeps before me, all screaming, all merging into one endless chorus. The Titan lurches. The entire world tilts. I feel gravity shift as the right leg gives way. Metal shrieks. The cockpit lurches violently. Motorati corpses slide across the deck, their blood mixing with the machine oil. I am still alive. I wish I wasn't. Through the shattered viewport, I see the battlefield stretch before me. A wasteland of fire and ruin. Our allies burn. Enemy artillery flashes like distant lightning. In the distance, I see another Titan, one of our own, striding through the haze, still fighting, still roaring its defiance. It will not reach us in time. The spirit claws at my mind, desperate now. "Do not leave me." Its voice is a child's plea, twisted by machine code and agony. I tighten the grip on the throne's handles, the metal searing my palms. I am here. We die together.